lab this week, you will be applying transitions and using the pseudo classes after and learning about before to add icons onto the Norris Gods lab you did last week. So a little bit about transitions. Transitions are something that you can apply to a property. There are a list of properties that you can see right here to create more of an elegant transition between two states for an HTML element CSS. So for instance, if you go up to this publish button right here, if you see the colors, they instantly change back and forth. Right as I start to hover, it changes to red. But if you notice, once I do that, there's this icon up here, the unpublished button right there, that slowly appears, and once I undo, it disappears a little more slowly. It's not instant just like the button itself. So that's a transition. You can add a duration to how the CSS is applied. So that is something we'll be adding into our Norris Gods this week. And then the before and after pseudo classes, this is something you can use, for instance, to add in this icon right here. You could use the pseudo class before to add this icon, this one, so on and so forth. So I'm going to go over a little bit about how to do that. So this is the demonstration I had from last week, and I will be applying the transitions and before and after into here. So I've already downloaded some SVGs of a cat, a dog, and a paw print, and I'm going to add them onto these links right here and over here. So let's go over how to do that. So first, I want to have a different icon in each of the links. So I am going to add a class, and let's do dog for the first one, class of cat, and class of paw print for the third one. I'm going to save that, so make sure that they get applied. And now let's go ahead and apply those, or use those classes to apply a before and an after. So I use two colons right here. You do only need to use one. However, some older browsers like Internet Explorer, which some people still use, so the one colon is the new browsers. They found it unnecessary that you have two, but some older browsers don't recognize that. So it's always best practice to keep using the older version, so that way until everyone has moved on or Internet Explorer is no longer used, that they still see the same thing that someone who's using Chrome now. Okay, so let's add the background image, or not background image, the after image. So we're going to use content and do semicolon at the end and then URL. So just like background image, we're going to do images/dog. So URL, parentheses, and then quotations around the image itself. So now let's copy that and let's do, paste that, and let's update this to cat. Cat after, and let's do cat SVG, save. Let's do it again, but for paw print. Okay. And let's update this, paw print. Okay, save, and let's see what happens. Oh, there they are. Okay, so they're pretty small, which is good. That's what we want. But there are slightly different sizes. So let's make them all at least the same height. So how do we do that? So we could add a height and then 2 rem on each of them, but that's a lot of duplicate lines of code. So I'm just gonna cut that, and instead let's do .dog after, comma, .cat after, comma, .paw print after. So now we can add that height. We'll do 2 rem here. Save that and let's see what happens. And are they being applied? applied. And it looks like it's not being applied. Why isn't it being applied? Let's save this and refresh. Nope. After. Oh, there it is. Okay. So something else we want to do is we don't want it to take up on a next line. We want it to be next to the link right here. So how do we do that? So we are actually going to apply position absolute onto all three of these links here. So we're going to save that, but because we're using position absolute, we need to make sure that the container that is holding these items has position relative on it. So the container that's holding these is actually the nav A's. So let's go on to here and let's do position relative. So we're going to save that. Let's go back over here and refresh, and okay, they've disappeared. But that's because we haven't applied the top attribute and the right attribute, probably. I think that's what we want to do to position them where we want. So let's go over how to do that. So let's do top 0 and let's just do right 0 to see what it looks like. Save that and let's refresh. And where did they go? Oh, I'm on the wrong thing. Let's go into header, nav, after. Looks like they might be behind. So let's add a 1. Nope. Where are they? Position absolute. They're there. We just can't see them. Let's add a width to them. Yep, there they are. So we just need to add a width onto here, otherwise they won't be able to show up. Okay, so let's add a width. And the reason we need to add a width and a height to these once we make them position absolute is because they are basically empty content right here. So if there's no width and height, they don't know how much space to take up. Right now, it's just like this empty element other than the fact that it's linking to this image. So we need to give it enough room to display that image how we want. So let's refresh. Okay, so I've applied that into there. And let's go ahead and select one of these. Okay, let's adjust the top. So we're going to adjust by pixels. So I'd say about 8 pixels is about where I want it. So let's change this to 8 pixels. Save that. Let's go back and refresh. Okay, and then let's highlight that again. And let's work on the right. So now I believe I want to go positive. And yeah, right about there is probably good. So 8 and 8 pixels. Save that and refresh, and there we go. So now our icons are over there. So that is a little bit about how you use after. Before is very similar, except for the fact that if we change this to before, and change this to before, let's save that, refresh. So obviously we can't tell that it's moved, but if I change this possibly to left, actually here, let's just comment out this. Save that and let's refresh. And so instead, see how the before one, it's underneath the link, but the after one is underneath the link, but the for one is above the link because it's becoming before the link itself, and vice versa with after. So I'm just going to undo all of that. Let's save that. So we go back to here. So that's a little bit about using before and after. I am going to do the same thing over here, but I'm just going to copy paste these because we're just going to use that class again. So let's just do this and move these over so they line up. A little bit easier to read. Refresh. Save. And why? Oh, they're way up here. Why are they way up here? Because so while I copy pasted the classes, these links over here, when so these are now position absolute. But this container here, which is, let's see, let's highlight what it is. It is the sidebar nav A does not have position relative on it. So it doesn't know that the absolute position of these should be based on this container here. So it's going to keep looking up. So the sidebar nav A, that's not position relative. The sidebar nav itself is not position relative. So it's going to keep looking up in the HTML code until it finds something that is position relative. So it looks like it is based on the body itself. So they're overlapping here a little bit. So what we need to do is we need to apply position relative onto the sidebar nav A's. So let's go back in our code and down here, sidebar nav A, position relative. Save that, refresh, and yep, there they go. So now they're over here. So let's go over applying some transitions into our code. So we have these links over here, and then we have these links up here. So let's start with these ones up here. So let's add a hover effect to these pink buttons. So those are the nav A's. Right now they have a deep pink color, so let's do nav A hover. Ooh, which is also a pseudo class. And let's do background color hot pink. Okay, let's save that. Ooh, save that and refresh. And so now when we hover, we can see this color here. But if you notice, when I hover, it instantly changes. The instant my cursor is over it, it changes into that light pink color. But maybe we want to transition into it a little easier. So now there's a few properties that go into transitions. So here we go. So we have transition properties. So transition property is the first one, and this is defining what property we want within that transition or within our declaration to transition. So on our nav A, we want the transition property to be the background color. Okay, save that. And then next we are going to add the duration we want that transition to take. So how long do we want it to take? We'll just do 10 or 2 seconds. So transition duration to S, 2 seconds. I'm going to save that. And then we want to define the timing function. So the timing function is based on Bezier curves. So if you are in the lab and you click on this web page right here, it'll open up this web page, and this will show you quite a few different ways that the timing function works. So timing function is essentially how long and how fast and the acceleration that the transition takes from point A to point B. So for instance, this would be the start of the transition and this is the end. And now if you hover over this and you watch this right here, you can see how it eases in to that transition. So for instance, if we go into this one, we can see how it's slow and then it speeds up here. Same with this one. This one has more of a curve, so it's slow and then fast. So these are a wide variety of the ones that you can use. The most common ones, which actually aren't on here, is ease in, just ease in, ease out, and linear. So ease in is pretty similar to this one. And let's see, ease out. So ease in curves this way and ease out will curve the opposite way. So let's see if we can find one that curves the opposite way. So kind of similar to this, probably not quite as fast. And then linear is just a straight line from this point to this point, and so it's very even. It just goes at the same speed the whole time. So let's just use linear to start. So transition, timing function, linear. Save that. Okay, and then let's see what else we need to apply this. Delay. So you don't need to apply a delay to something, but let's say we wanted to delay when the transition starts by 1 second. So we're going to do transition. Delay. There we go. And 1 second. Let's save that. And let's see what happens here. We refresh the page. And you can tell that it waits 1 second from when I go over it or remove my cursor from it. So we go over it, it's going to wait 1 second, and then it slowly takes 2 seconds to change from the hot pink to the light pink. And then if I take my cursor off, it's going to wait 1 second and then slowly take 2 seconds to go back to the deep pink. So that's a little bit about how transitions work, but let's add some transitions over here. Instead of using the background color, we're actually going to use where these are positioned on the web page itself. So let's do that. So let's place them first over here so we can only see the icon themselves. So we're going to go into sidebar nav and we are going to actually change this around. So we are going to do position relative of the sidebar nav, and let's do left 0 to start. Let's save that and let's see what happens here. And looks like I'm going to have to change this to position absolute. Okay. And let's see if we change top 30 pixels. But if you notice, they all are stacking in on top of each other because they all are having the same position, or position of 30 pixels from the top, which we don't want. So let's actually use those classes to spread them out. So we're going to do .sidebar nav, direct descendant of .dog. Or actually, dog is first. So let's just do cat because we want dog to have that first one. So let's do top, and we'll do 60 pixels, and .sidebar nav, direct descendant paw print, and let's do top 90 pixels. Let's see if that works. Yep. Okay. That space between these two is a little weird, so let's fix that. Oh, because I actually didn't save my top here because I was actually doing it in the browser, and obviously it's not going to save. So let's go back here and let's actually add .sidebar nav. Direct descendant .dog and top 30 pixels. Okay. Save that. Let's come over here and refresh. Okay, so but now I want to just only show the paw print, the icons over here. So let's select these, and I'm actually going to change this left value until it's about where I want it. So we're just going to slide these way over. Okay, so now we can only see those. So let's just we'll do -160 for our left on here. So -160 pixels. Okay, save that, come back, refresh. Okay, but now we want them to pop out when we hover over these. So what we're going to do is we're going to do .sidebar nav, a hover, and we're going to do left 0. And let's save that and refresh. And now when we hover, notice how they slide out. But it's kind of jittery, not ideal. So let's change that. And actually, let's not do quite 0. Let's actually put it so the the left side of those buttons is actually touching over here. So I'm going to go through my sidebar nav, select these, and I am going to force the hover state on those. Okay, so now we can see that the hover state is activated over here. So now we can adjust this a little bit better. So let's just move this over until it's just touching, yeah, negative 58 pixels. So let's change that hover to negative 58 pixels. Okay, save that, come back, refresh, and now when we hover, yeah, now it's less jittery, but also it slides out really quickly. So let's add a transition onto that. So we're going to do transition. So now this is the shortcut way of doing all of this up here. So instead of doing 4 different properties, we can just do the transition property here. And let's get the value that all the values that we're going to need to fill in. So if we go back into here, and you can see these are the order of the values that we're going to have to apply inside of here. So the first one is our property. So which properties inside of here do we want to add the transition to? And we want to add it to left. So left, and how long do we want it to take? Let's just do 1 second. And the timing function, let's just do ease in and out. So this one will go, it'll curve in and then it'll curve out. And then do we want to delay? I don't think so. So we're just going to delete that one because that's not necessary. And let's take a look and see what this looks like. So now it eases in and out. And that is how you add a nice transition onto your page. So that's essentially it. That's what you'll be doing this week. You'll be adding on icons after some A's, and then you'll be adding some transitions onto different elements on the web page. So hopefully this is helpful. Let me know if you have any questions by emailing me. Make sure this week that you are working on the labs and your discussions during the week. I will not be answering any emails on the weekend. So yeah, have a good week.